Hey, you're watching Half Asian Tarot Queen. I'm Elisa, and I'm doing a reading for, it's big. It's a new moon solar eclipse in, I'm pretty sure it's in Sagittarius. And you know, we're like capping off eclipse season, and I've been doing a bunch of readings for eclipse season because there's been some real big changes coming through, and the readings have been super dramatic, starting with the beaver new moon, but I even have a whole thread called Eclipse, which I've been like linking at the end of the videos. So you can go back and track all the videos from the whole eclipse season, because there's been some like profound transformations, you know, happening. And yeah, I mean, I can say for myself, like, I mean, like, as somebody else put it, it's like, oh my God, you've healed this like family curse, you know. And it's just like unwinding this totally messed up situation that's been sort of like buried under the rug forever. And like it's gonna be really good to like clean it up and like fix it, you know. But it's like this thing has been like without my awareness, like totally messing up my life for like a good 20 years, you know. No, it's like more like 30 years. And so it's gonna be huge to like, you know, move on from it. So anyways, should be interesting. So okay, I don't remember if I said, but mystical shaman, that's what I'm starting with. And at the bottom of the deck we got Taming the Wind. So this is a card of like co-creating with the universe, and you know, it has the feather. And so I always think of this as like sort of like the Forrest Gump card, you know, because it's sort of like Forrest had this really close relationship with his mom, and after his mom passed away, it's like he still had this connection, and like this guidance would like come through as this like white feather that would like drop, you know, when he was at some turning point in life, and he would always like know, you know. And so Taming the Wind kind of speaks to that experience. And then, so we have the Earth Keeper. So this is really, it's auspicious, you know, because the Earth Keeper speaks of kind of reaching this point where you have like the power to like manifest things that are beyond what you even think is possible, or dream bigger than you've ever dreamed before, you know, because you've tapped into something bigger than yourself. And but it also speaks to your responsibility when you have harnessed that great power to use it responsibly, and to like give back to the earth, and to the animals and the planet, and you know, have reverence for all that is, you know, when you're given that power. So I think that's a really good omen. And then we have the Witness. So this is a card about like unfolding and being witness to unfolding. I mean, there's like a real temptation when you're kind of like in the middle of some kind of crisis or something that needs to be resolved, to really just like want to have a lot of action, you know, thinking that that's going to actually affect the outcome. But this card speaks to like a power that's greater than that, and knowing that like all obstacles are within, you know. And so if you really want to resolve a problem or get past through an obstacle, like it's all about kind of like reaching a point of stillness within yourself, and like removing any barriers in your perspective or your energy that are ultimately the source of all, problems. So it's interesting because all the readings of the eclipse season have been talking about like healing these distortions and like these emotional wounds that are like blocking you from seeing things how they really are. And and so this speaks to like getting to this place of stillness where you've like worked through all of that, and you're clear, like you're a clear channel, and then you just watch things unfold and like kind of resolve themselves. And so it's like really a place of great power. So these two cards, like, this is just like, whoa, like this is some boss position stuff, And then we have Heart of Sky, and this is really beautiful too, because it's like speaks to like manifestation and being like a divine, like a channel for the divine, so that the divine will like work through you, and like with this, it's like you've resolved all the barriers and obstacles within yourself, and so now you're just this clear channel, and then like the divine can work through you. You're a messenger, and so it's like you're this blank canvas that like a work of art, in action. So this is like really good reading. And then we have the moon. So this kind of speaks to the cycles of life, so it's an analogy of like the feminine cycle of 28 days, that's synced up with the moon, but just like speaking to like the ebb and flow of life, and like bring that into balance, I mean, like I was talking about, like this active striving, and then there's also times for receiving, and like there might be times where, you might be in a dominant position, and then things will flip, and then, it's somebody else's 15 seconds, and so, but having reverence for like, all of these cycles, like there's lessons within all of them, so it's just like you're not always on top, you're not always on bottom, but you're always like learning a lesson, and so it speaks to having that broader perspective, and especially when it looks like there's this huge profound empowerment that's going on, so it's like you don't want it to like go to your head, and that becomes a distortion too, like you want to stay in balance. That's really where your power is, and then the last card we have is the Sweat Lodge. So this, like I was saying with the eclipse season, I feel like this might have come out in the last eclipse, like the eclipse, because, eclipse season is flanked by like a lunar eclipse, and then this is the solar eclipse. And I feel like the lunar eclipse might have had this card, but this speaks to this sort of like purging of things that don't serve you anymore, which is totally what the eclipse is all about, And so like the theme in this eclipse season with all the readings leading up has been specifically around like a distortion in perspective that's like kind of like blocking you from seeing things how they really are. And then like this coming into awareness, and then this like great power that like comes from that acknowledgement. And so this, this is like the analogy of the Sweat Lodge, where you're like sweating out these toxins, and it's like an unpleasant process, while you're doing it, but like it leads to this profound healing, so yeah, this solar eclipse looks like it's going to be a real doozy. Okay, so I picked from a couple different decks. I picked from the Radiant Wise Spirit, and I got this Six of Wands, which is a card of victory. So this is really, with all the cards that came through from Mystical Shaman in this, it's just like, wow, it's like if you've taken advantage of this moment of the eclipse and like actually done all this inner work, like it looks like it's gonna be a really good a good time, you know. Okay, so then we got the King of Pentacles. We got the Five of Cups. We got the Hangman. We got the Nine of Cups. And we got the Three of Wands. So, I mean, this, like, I feel like speaks to a lot of what I've been talking about with the eclipse season. So the King of Pentacles, this is interesting because this is like a real kind of like nose to the grindstone king. He's like financially abundant, you know, but he's like earthly, you know, like he's a hard worker, and he like, he gets things done, you know, and he has an appreciation for, like, you know, the tangible. And we have a whole thread about this guy called Phoenix, because there's this whole storyline around this guy where he's like sort of this downtrodden king who's been like nose to the grindstone and like having to learn this spiritual lesson to ascend to this emperor status. Like, he is the chosen one that ascends to become the emperor, but not until he learns his spiritual lesson. And then when he does, it turns into this dynasty thread. So this is like a storyline that's been on the channel for like since it started. So it's interesting that he's coming up right now. We have the Five of Cups, which this speaks to like a loss, you know, but it also is like a cautionary tale to like remember to keep your focus in the right place, because it's like if you're focused on the loss, you know, there's these 3 cups spilled, but there's actually a 2 of cups behind this person, which is really good, you know, but if they're focused on the loss, they're not going to see that opportunity that's behind them. So this is like a cautionary, you know, I mean, there's definitely some pain that we're having to work through with all this eclipse energy, but like there's a great benefit if you're willing to do the work, you know. And we got the Hangman, you know, which speaks to like taking a step back and having your perspective on things, but also like maybe having to make a sacrifice, you know, in order to like re-engage and like kind of take a step up, you know, which is really, I think, speaking to this whole experience of the eclipse season, you know, like kind of taking a step back, doing some internal work, and like knowing that there's something about your perspective that's distorted and needs to change, you know. But it's like if you're willing to do that work and focus on the positive and the lesson from that, then what happens is your wish is going to come true. Like, this is really good. Like, this is wish coming true. And then we have the Three of Wands, which kind of speaks to like seeing your ships coming in on the horizon. Like, you're still manifesting it, but you can see it on the horizon. Like, you've kind of had some shift in your brain where like no longer are you being like oppressed. Like, you actually can see a path now to get to where you need to go, you know, because you've like cleared up all this chatter that's like been blocking you from seeing the clarity, you know. Okay, so I'm going to go to the Urban Tarot, and on the bottom of this deck we have the Empress, you know. So here we have a mom, but this also speaks to the birth of something, you know, so a new idea or a new stage of life or a new person even, you know, something new is coming online. And we have, so in the top row we have Death, we have the Matriarch, we have Strife, we have the Hermit, and we have the Hanged Man again. So, you know, speaking to doing this work and taking this perspective, you know, and that comes right after the Hermit, which is all about going on the spiritual quest, you know. So it's just like, again, this is like really speaking to the whole eclipse season experience, but like it's leading to this profound change, you know, like fundamental, you know. And maybe for this Queen of Pentacles, there was the Queen of Pentacles has been coming up a lot in the readings this week too, like, and so she was like bringing forth this blessing and had like done all this work, but it could have something to do with a mom because there's like a matriarch here, but yeah, like a lot of the readings in the eclipse season have been around the Queen of Pentacles. And it was interesting too, because I spoke to this thread around this guy, and like a lot of the storyline in this thread is all about him having to kind of right this situation that had befallen his queen, the Queen of Pentacles. And in doing that, he was going to learn this spiritual lesson that was going to lead to him, you know, stepping up into the Emperor. And it's interesting too, like that she falls right under this, like, you know, you got to have the right perspective on whatever this loss is, you know. And then we have strife. So, you know, there's change happening and there's evolution, but there's also a lot of conflict that's coming from that. So it's just like there's a lot of shifting that's happening in the, you know, in perspective, and that's leading to like ultimately conflict in the outer world, you know. So but you know, that's part of change. Like you can't have change without conflict, and it's like right in the middle of the reading, you know, conflict. Like this might be a dramatic eclipse, you know. So then on the next row we have the therapist, we have abundance, we have the costume designer, the star, and the Wheel of Fortune. So yeah, I mean, this is really speaking to some big shifts. You know, again, the therapist, like somebody's been doing some internal work. Like that's just, this therapist has come out a bunch during eclipse season. But it's like if you're willing to do the work, and it looks like this King of Pentacles is doing the work, you know, then there's going to be a shift, a big change that's going to happen. And that fell right under this Earth Keeper, which is somebody who's like stepped into this power that's going to like beyond anything that they've been able to dream of, you know, leading up to now. And then we have, you know, this Queen of Pentacles, which had, you know, was bringing forth this blessing in one of the earlier readings this week. And she's right on top of this abundance, you know. So it's like, don't get lost here, you know. There is, sorry, the phone rang. I'm not exactly sure when I lost, but like, yeah. There's abundance coming to this person, you know, like who's, you know, done the work, and they're just like, you know, they've come to this place of stillness. They've, you know, like removed all the blockages, and like abundance is coming, you know. And then we have, it's interesting because we have this costume designer, which, you know, in this book, it's kind of like someone who is super creative and brings these like fantasies into reality, you know, because they're like this dreamer, but they still have to like get down and dirty and like make the costumes. Like it kind of reminds me, this card reminds me of like in the movie, the cartoon movie of Cinderella, and she's like getting ready for the ball, and all the like mice and everything like are helping her with sewing her, you know, ball gown and everything. And like that's kind of like, so like there's this creation that's happening, and it's interesting because this person, you know, like they're being super creative, you know, and yet they're building something tangible, you know, but like also acting out this fantasy, you know. But this is a dreamer who's actually making something happen. Like they're making it happen, but this is causing some major conflict, you know. But this person is like a channel for the divine, you know. So like the divine is working through, like, look how these match. The divine is working through this creator, you know. But like they might be challenging the status quo, you know, because this is causing some major upset that's happening. But you know, we have this hermit who's gone on this spiritual quest, and like underneath that we have the star. So this person is like, I love how it like has this kind of, it like almost has this holiday theme. So it's like this person is getting their wish, you know. And it seems like during the holidays, you know, is like that's when their moment is, you know. whoever's done the work, you know. So it's like if you've actually taken the time and done this work, you know, for eclipse season, like the holidays might be super sparkly, you know. And then the final card, we have the Wheel of Fortune, you know. So there's like a big shift that's happening. Like there's change on the horizon. Like we've shed something super toxic, and like there's like a big shift, you know. I'm going to go to Moonology and Queen of the Moon Oracle, since this is a moon, like, but also a solar eclipse. But it's also a new moon, and it's just like, oh my god. Yeah, like I said, you can look it through the whole thread about like the eclipse readings, because it's been like really working through some big stuff, and like it's been profound and beautiful, but like also just a lot, you know. Okay, all right. It's time to give rather than take. New moon in Virgo. I'm a Virgo, so I'm like, oh my god, it's a new moon and it's in my sign. It's time to give rather than take. And then we have the end of a tough cycle approaches. Full moon in Capricorn. So it's like, be open to the change, and also like, maybe don't be attached to having your way, you know. It might be time to give rather than take, but remember, when you have great power comes great responsibility. So, you know, remember that, because at the end of the day, you've got the power. So, you know, be responsible with it. Okay, I'm going to Queen of the Moon Oracle for the last final cards. Oh my gosh, this whole eclipse season has been... I'll probably do a reading like right during the eclipse, because I'm doing this like ahead of time, but I'm really excited to see how this all plays out, because it's been wild. And like for me, like I said, these realizations have come that have been like sort of like haunting my life for like 30 years, and I had no idea. And I'm like, how can this not have a profound impact on my life as I know it, that I've like totally almost been dogging myself based on stuff that was happening that didn't have anything to do with me and was like outside of me, and like other people's stuff being projected on me, and like I didn't even know. Wasn't even conscious of it, and I was like taking it all in, you know. And it's just like, oh my gosh, this is so huge. It's gonna like totally free me up for like a completely different experience. Okay, all right. Oh, I think we got this one last month too. We got the masculine, so that's interesting, because we got the masculine and we got the witness, you know, where it's just like stillness, and this is all about action, you know. So it's just like the stillness is leading to action, because like there's gonna be like maybe some sort of eruption with this eclipse, you know, like some big shift, you know, because the next card we have is change, like bloop, like things are changing. And then we have long night moon, so we have darkness, which that's pretty fitting for an eclipse, you know. So we've got action, we've got change, we've got an eclipse, and then we have blossoming. Totally beautiful. So, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see how this goes. I am excited for the change. I feel like I've like done the work, so now I'm just like, woohoo, how's this gonna manifest? But good luck with that. If you are interested, I'm doing this holiday reading special, so you can get your own reading in the format like this one. You can get like a love, general, or career finance reading. $35 is a really good deal. I'm only going to do a few of them because, like I said, I'm trying to go back to work after the holidays. But, you know, I just want to do this because it's fun and the energy is really cool right now. So check it out in the description box below if you're interested, and we'll see you in the next reading.